Hello, everyone. Welcome to Eternal Brews. My name is Pojo. We were in the ECQ playing around. We got I think 140th or something like that. Didn't really quite make it in, but got pretty close. I did a lot of testing for the ECQ, and in the process, we came up with a bunch of interesting decks. So now that we are all done with ECQ testing, we're going to be sharing a bunch of Throne decks and talking about just some interesting stuff that we came across and some really fun patterns, as well as some fun interactions from the new Echoes of Eternity set. So this is Monoculars, a deck of my own design that I'm very, very happy with, and it's just wildly, wildly fun. It also probably has an Expedition version floating around somewhere. I think that since it is primarily based around Kodash's Armor and Grodov's Burden and Shardbinder, there's some pretty interesting options that are available in that particular process. But this particular version is kind of a big mid-range setup, and we are doing a couple of interesting and cute things, some of which you may have seen in the highlights from Monday. So let's go ahead and talk about it. This is unfortunately a very expensive deck, one of the most expensive we've made as far as I know. It's pretty legendary heavy, so I apologize for that, but there are some cheaper ways to go about it, namely ditching out cards like Martial Ironthorn and Sandstorm Titan for cards like Sabertooth Pride Leader, and basically just sort of keeping the curve a little bit more stable. But anyways, the basic design behind this deck is that it is entirely single faction, or rather it is 3 colors, but all of the different cards are in fact single faction cards, which means that we get to do some interesting things with cards like Kodash's Armor and Grodov's Burden. And these 2 cards have a lot of text on them, but they have a number of different things that are happening basically simultaneously. First, they have an onboard spellcraft effect, which we are going to reduce with Shardbinder. So Grodov's Burden casts Bury the Past, which kills relics, kills units, kills basically a lot of different things, and makes sure they don't come back for a very long time. And Kodash's Armor plays Zolta Convoy, which gets us 2/2 exiles with Aegis and Endurance, both of which are pretty useful things to be having in these particular setups. In both cases, that's fine, but also they have another ability that you pay 5 for. Single faction units get +5/+5 this turn, and draw a card if it's a single faction unit, play it. So obviously, since we have a bunch of single faction units, we're going to be able to make use of that very frequently. In addition, the card Shardbinder also reduces the cost of that ability to 2, so we can cast that for 2 anytime that we want. Finally, the last thing that they have is an Exalted keyword skill, which is for Kodash's Armor, Exalted weapons get played on each of your single faction units instead, and for Grodov's Burden, your single faction units have Exalted. So if you have both a Burden and an Armor down, then any unit that dies will create an Exalted weapon and play it on every other unit, which is particularly effective if you have a Zolta Convoy out, because those 2/2 exiles, you can buff them up to 7/7s, attack with them. If they die, they give +7/+7 and Aegis to every single unit on the board. Sounds pretty good. So yeah, we're pretty into this kind of interesting interaction. Everything else about this is just about playing good single faction units with a bit of sort of ramp mixed in. And we're also using Alluring Kirin, which for my money it's going to be in a couple of our brews this week, but it's been just a really delightful card due to the fact that even Elysian has been very, very popular in the meta. So let's talk a little bit about what Alluring Kirin is doing. Alluring Kirin is a 1/1 flyer. Spells and weapons cost 1 more, so in deck, in hand, or in void, all spells and weapons cost 1 more. We're playing an almost entirely unit-based strategy. Our only spells cost 1 and are typically fine to cast on 2, so we don't care too much after we play this card. But the Mastery 2 says play all power cards from your hand. So if you're using a card like, say, Amber Acolyte, or cards like Tradition Chant to pull extra power into your hand, then you can typically get 1 to 2 power cards played on turn 3 when this unit attacks in. Now, this card is kind of deceptively powerful. There's a bunch of interesting things that happen with it. First off, it goes really well in hands that are mostly just full of power, because you get to play all of that power out, and then you get to ramp to your 6-drop or your 5-drop. Generally pretty good stuff, feels pretty nice on that front. Secondly, it's actually pretty hard to remove. It's a 1/1, so it comes down on turn 1. Your opponent can then suffocate it for 2 on turn 2, which they don't really want to do, because most decks that have Suffocate also have a relevant 2-drop that they want to play, say Even-Handed Golem or Teacher of Humility or something along those lines. So Alluring Kirin tends to get ignored at least until turn 3, and then at that point you kind of have to decide whether or not you're going to be spending your turn 3 to remove the card. If you do that, you kind of lose out on tempo, but eventually it does sort of set up the other thing. The final thing that happens here is that not only does it frequently get its mastery, and also ends up being a pretty annoying flyer that kind of irritates control decks and like makes everything a lot more expensive, makes it a little harder to play like Madness Combust, for example, in the current sacrifice lists, makes it harder to play Equivocate, makes it harder to play Sodi Spellshaper. All of that stuff is pretty relevant, but the other thing that it does is, and this is something that people haven't always figured out yet, it turns off Even-Handed Golem. If Even-Handed Golem is in a deck with any Sodi Spellshapers or Equivocates, the deck now has odd-costed cards, so you play an Even-Handed Golem, no cards are drawn, and for Throne in particular, this is just a really satisfying and fun experience. Most Even-Handed decks do not want to spend 3 to Equivocate a 1-drop, and when they do, you're actually getting a little bit ahead on tempo, which means you're going to be more likely to get into your later drops, your Sandstorm Titans, your Sabertooth Pride Leaders. Those aren't going to be as likely to be equivocated because your opponent has to deal with this Kieran so that they can draw cards, or not deal with this Kieran and not draw cards and not have as many threats. In either way, you're in a better position against Even Elysian for having this card. It's really, really strong in the list. Okay, so that's the most of it. Let's run through the last of the cards and talk a little bit about what's going on. Shardbinder and Horde Plunderer reduce the spellcraft to 0 for Kodash's Armor and Grodov's Burden. Horde Plunderer is sometimes not in this deck. You can certainly cut it for other cards if you need to reduce the cost of this list. Trailmaker and Amber Acolyte give us ramp. Amber Acolyte also helps out with Alluring Kieran, which is great, and they fix our colors, which is really important. We're mostly about influence fixing here, making sure that we have stable influence to pay our double justice and double time costs, as well as our occasional triple primal with Linray's Codex. Oh, and one of my market cards is missing. I believe that's a bug, but we'll sort out what the market is in a little bit. Scorpion Wasp, Deadly Ambush, generally good on a certain number of different types of decks. This one's an in or out, and depending on what you want to do. Definitely raise this number if you are playing a cheaper version of the list. Sabertooth Pride Leader, standard, sort of gives you a lot of health and also breaks relics, really important stuff. We do have other ways to break relics, primarily Grodov's Burden, but this just ends up being a pretty useful 4-drop since we're playing a lot of mono-colored cards. Sandstorm Titan, 5/6, really, really good. We want this sort of like big beater in the middle because we are trying to play like nasty stuff at the top, and we want something to keep us alive in the middle that actually really works out very well. Sandstorm Titan's always been good at that. Martial Ironthorn plays additional copies of Power, which works with Grodov's Stranger, as well as with Alluring Kieran. In both cases, we get extra power out of that and can typically get Martial Ironthorn as far as 15 without a lot of difficulty. I sometimes play 4 copies. This one currently runs 2. Grodov's Stranger is just like really, really powerful. It's harder to kill with Madness when you have Alluring Kieran's down. It gives you the random sigil and, of course, the card draw, both of which are pretty relevant. This one's not as necessary. If you don't have it, you don't have to craft it. You can pick something else in this particular slot, just as long as it's monocolored and it gives you some sort of advantageous position. I like Grodov's Stranger because it's just a general value engine and it synergizes well with Ironthorn, but again, like, the main thing here is we're doing like this Kieran armor burden thing with a couple of fixers, so if you have different monocolored ideas, you can definitely choose to go down those routes. Finally, for spells, we have Tradition Chant, which gets us extra power and invokes, both useful things, and Transpose, which gives us face Aegises. That's really important. Like, I actually think this market card is stronger than a lot of the merchants in the current setup because it allows you to fast Aegis against all sorts of attachment destruction, including Sabertooth Pride Leader. If Grodov's Burden sticks for a while, it's going to win the game, so the longer you can keep Grodov's Burden alive with cards like Transpose, the better off you are. And this is really, really good against all of those decks that are just running 4 Sabertooth Pride Leaders and want to basically set you up in some way where you generally like don't have the necessary tools. This is a great way to protect relics. It's really, really strong in Throne, and I think it's pretty solid. We'll figure out what our missing market card is here in a second, but yeah, we currently have Citywide Ban, Linray's Codex, Sword of Unity, and the Praxis Arcanum. I believe we were using Avagraft in this Force slot as well, but there might be a bug right now. In any case, we can add that back in, and we'll just go ahead and get started. So that's basically it. We have all of the crests, of course. Amber Waystones gain a little life. We have plenty of power for Grodov's Stranger and Ironthorn, and we're generally having a pretty grand time with all of our Kodash stuff. So let's play a couple of games and we'll show off the list. Thank you so much, and see you in just a few minutes, or see you in game. Cheers. All right, here we are up against Sarah Bear. I like this hand reasonably well. It does need another green for Kodash's armor, but we can probably find that. So we'll go ahead and keep this and see what we can do with it. It's got a reasonable amount of power. Yeah, and overall, I think it's going to be good. Okay, so we play Crest of Order first. Looks like we got Trailmaker, which is definitely one of the things that I need for a good Shardbinder setup. So we can set that up now, and yeah, that will just get us moving on whatever it is that we need. Looks like we are up against Even Lesion. Don't have Kieran this time, sadly, so no luck on that front, but that's okay. We can just go Trailmaker, get the Justice, and then set up Shardbinder. Probably just play Shardbinder and Kodosh on the same turn, and do a Crest this turn.
Our magic is unbroken.
Okay, Magnificent Stranger, so yeah, we can definitely expect to see a lot of Even Legion here. We'll probably want the Sabertooth Pride Leader since that gets us access to a bunch of useful stuff. Shardbinder would block here, but I think Kodosh's armor is going to be really useful, so let's just keep it where it's at. Got a time there. Okay. 2-3 swinging. Does get that nice discount. Nothing else happening, so we just play Amber Waystone here. Shardbinder into Kodosh's armor with a Zolta Convoy. And we can make this attack pretty easily, get some damage in. Okay, so now I've got a 2-cost Kodosh's armor trigger every time that I want, which is a 7/7 attacking in. That's a really nice aggressive move. Even-handed Golem obviously is very scary. There's plenty of bad stuff that could happen there, but overall I'm not feeling too unhappy about our current situation. They might be looking to drop a Sabertooth Pride Leader on us this turn. Indeed, that is what happened. So, no Kodosh's armor for the time being, but that's okay. We do have Pride Leader and Grodov Stranger available, so both should be helpful in the future. Sandstorm Titan seems like a solid thing to drop right now. Get ourselves a unit that we can play. I don't think I need Grodov Stranger, though. I don't need a power here since Grodov Stranger is providing some, so we're good on that front. We got Crest of Wisdom. Still not sure what our opponents got, what particular variant of Even Lesion this is, but we should be able to outvalue it, provided we get into a decent enough situation. Groundbreaker seems solid. I think we're just going to go for Grodov Stranger here.
We struggle and grow.
Get that power, play more power, and set up for Pride Leader and Groundbreaker. Might get equivocated here. Still pushing a lot of power. So this list is Magnificent Stranger, it's even-handed, it's Sabertooth Pride Leader. You'll see Equivocate and Sodi Spellshaper in there, which really, really good that we have the Zoltar Arcanum for that reason. Temple Tactics seems excellent for us, since that means we can at least get power again. Elysian Banner into their Grodov Stranger. Okay, so they're just trying to get like basically a little bit of a line up on us, which makes sense. So yeah, I think we'll play our Grodov Stranger into a power, probably hold off on Groundbreaker since we got Pride Leader for that, and we're good to go. Might see something like a Sodi Spellshaper here. Okay, we got an Obelisk instead. Break the Obelisk. And boop, boop, boop. I really don't like this because Equivocate is still a problem, but that means I can't Equivocate our Grodov Stranger, so I think it's worth it. I could have thrown the 3-1 in front as well, but yeah, that seems like the reasonable way to go. Leaves us with an Aegis unit. Our Grodov Stranger still gets to attack, potentially. Okay. They got an even-handed Golem. Not great. Are there cards that they have that we want to shuffle? No, we're just going to shuffle our own Void. Picked up a Tradition Chant, which is actually quite good. Second Pride Leader is a bit of a problem, but at least we get the even-handed. And Tradition Chant can potentially pick us up something that will actually help out. Quicksilver Mirror seems perfect. Get some blockers, make a bunch of copies of things. So hopefully no more Pride Leaders. Even-handed Golem number 3, that's rough. I'm really wishing we had a Kieran right now. We could see another Pride leader. No, it's Grodov Stranger again. Okay. Well, that's probably fine. Cheap Sandstorm Titan's not bad here, but I'm actually looking for like Grodov's or something a little bit more on the nose, because like Grodov Stranger is already kind of pushing us in bad directions. Got another obelisk. That's pretty bad. Certainly hurts. Yeah, I think we kind of just have to throw everything in front of that 9/9. Which is not my favorite day ever. But the card draw needs to stop, so here we go. Okay. They get a Titan, we get a copy. Gotta do another tradition chant, try and find something big. Ah, this is the version of the deck with unseals. Scary. Okay.
Our magic is unbroken.
Little magnificence. It's gonna be a struggle to keep this under wraps. We'll take 7 here. So I got no other better choices.
This'll do the trick.
Another Trailmaker sets us up a little better. At least we're playing a unit every turn until Pride Leader comes down. I really need a Grodov's Burden, though. That's the thing that saves us here. Okay, Nash Desert Prince is going to be making a bunch of little killer friends. Doesn't harm us that much, but does mean irritants for our Trailmakers and the like. Copy this 3/6 again. Kodash's armor plays Zolta Convoy. And I think we just buff this sucker up. It's still not big enough to come in though, so I guess we're just stuck. Still, the board's not so full yet that we're in trouble. This is a really interesting game. The Quicksilver Mirror was a big pull for us. We still need Grodov's Burden, that's the main thing. Transpose will be useful once we get other cards going. This attack obviously just sets us up a little bit. It's a 12/11. We can feasibly do something good with it. Okay. There's that. Not really a huge deal since it mostly just buffs like a big ol' 11/12, but there we go. 11/12 still gets blocked by 4 ground breakers, so we're okay on that front. Now my pull is Linray's Codex. Once I get that down, things look a little better for us. That seems fine. That also seems fine. It's just some card value.
Blink and you'll miss it.
Not attacking here is really helping us, though. Okay, so unit to copy. We're going to copy Groundbreaker again. Now, as far as my transposes go, I have a couple of different options. I can do Praxis Arcanum, I can do Linray's Codex, which is almost certainly what we're going to do. Linray's Codex is a little weird because it does mean that, like, Sandstorm Titan is still a problem, but I think it's worth it. So we're going to transpose here. Okay, noted. Horde Plunder gives us at least one unit to play with.
It's all mine.
And I don't want to do Kodash's armor attacks here. I think we're good to go. So we'll just call that good. Additional obelisks will be pretty scary. We need to draw cards pretty badly. Keeping on the defensive has thus far worked for us, but it is going to get tougher the longer this game goes on. Okay, we got Sabertooth Pride Leader. That's a pretty big one. At this point, I can get a 10 bonus, which would be a total of 12. I think I'm pretty comfy with that. And also the Spellcraft is free, which is meaningless but funny. 12-12 attacking, trades with at least one unit. Okay, and that's one less friend. We should actually hold for the Sabertooth Pride Leader next turn, because that's just going to be a big deal. And also, it might allow us to attack with only one buff. Plenty of things coming on the Lava Blood Goliaths. This is a very good game. I'm enjoying myself tremendously. Okay. Got another Titan. They're big friends. I think we keep copying Groundbreaker, although copying Horde Plunder has some benefits. Crest of Wisdom here can potentially find us the unit we need. Alluring Kirin is not it, although that is funny. At this point, I think Alluring Kirin is no longer the card that we want here. I can keep attacking, but I don't see a lot of reason to. I think we're just going to hold the Sabertooth Pride Leader up and call it good. At some point, Sarah Bear has to push on us, so we'll see what ends up happening. Yeah, let's Pride Leader there, I think. Just kills one unit, but it's at least a use of the Pride Leader, and now I can start attacking.
You're a sad bunch.
I'm gonna start copying Pride Leaders. That gains us life, which is a huge deal. And we can go ahead and attack with these Pride Leaders for decent amounts of damage. 13-15 kind of pushes pretty hard. Crest of Wisdom, not doing much. Since we're up to 9-10s, maybe we should do the, Man, still not drawing good cards, though. Yeah, let's go ahead and do a double. I think I might go for the Horde Plunderer here. That'll at least force a trade of some kind. I kind of want to force trades so that we can do better with our, like, duplicates. 11-14 attacking twice. Gets a cheap friend there. And keeping the board narrow, which is really useful. Oh, also depowering a little bit. That's nice too. So we still have killer friends floating around. That's something we gotta pay attention to. I'm looking for Shardbinders, I'm looking for Grodov's Burden, I'm looking for Grodov Stranger. Let's go ahead and play Grodov Stranger right now. Just sacrifice the Horde Plunder, it was going to run into the fray anyways. And then, yeah, if we want to go +5 to something, that would get an 8 something. That's not super worth it at this point. I think we're good, but maybe we do that anyways. I kind of like the idea of attacking with 1 to 2 of these friends, just so we have, like... just to make it difficult, and also to open up the ability to play more Grodov Strangers. We gotta be careful, though, because we need to leave enough blockers back that we don't get wiped by obelisk plays or like some sort of crazy option like Linray's Codex. In both situations, Sabertooth Pride Leader helps us, but we do have to be careful. Okay, so still keeping the board pretty straightforward. I think we're good here. Temple Tactic on Even-Handed Golem gets some more card draw. That's going to be a little rough. But it's not the absolute end of the world. Ooh, double obelisk play. Seems pretty good. Is that going to be the sweep? Let's break one. They will probably choose to kill this. I don't know if I should have cycled their deck or not. It does have a lot of small friends in it, so I think it's worth it. There's a Shardbinder and a Alluring Kirin, both pretty good. The big Sandstorm Titan is finally going.
Bound in magic.
I think we play the Kirin here. Maybe sacrifice, like, one of the Pride Leaders. And we're good. So notably, now they only have they have 8 health units, which means I can dupe on 2 different units with Kodosh is favored. That's a big deal. Sabertooth Pride Leader is also still a playable card here. I think we're going to sacrifice this Sabertooth Pride Leader to kill that. That's another obelisk down. Time Sigil, obviously not doing us any favors, but we can go boop, boop, and boop. And start charging in for a decent amount of damage. 8 11s all. Simple blocks, nothing too crazy happening here. Bonking heads. Picking up killer friends. I'm not in love with cycling the obelisk back into their deck, but I do have lots of ways to make Sabertooth Pride Leaders happen, so I'm not too worried about it. It's more about like making sure that they don't draw a lot of cards here with even-handed golems, or obviously Grodov Stranger is a big hit here. Another Teacher happens, that's not too big a deal. Martial Ironthorn seems kind of like a game ender. I can't play him and immediately explode him, but I think it's worth doing at least a little bit of something here. Let's just break this Groundbreaker. And then, same thing as before. I think that's good enough. Okay, cool. Explosive, and a pretty fun game. Alright, here we are up against Archivir. Shardbinder and Amber Acolyte look pretty good here. I would say that overall this seems reasonably strong. Yeah, it's not a bad hand. There's a couple of things that might go wrong here, but Shardbinder's a reasonable start. We'll go ahead and give it a shot. So I need a third time for Grodov's Burden. I don't need to go too heavily into Primal here. Like we can avoid going for the Primal if we don't find the third time. Although it's fairly likely that we will, so. Alright. There goes a Crest of Glory, so we know we're up against some Rakano stuff. Might be something along the lines of Icaria, something a little interesting. We do have Scorpion Wasp for Icaria, which is generally a good thing to hold on to as long as we can. Do have to worry about Razan, Zoe, that kind of stuff. I don't remember if I saw an extra card get drawn here, but it does look like they have one extra in hand, so quite possible. In any case. Seek Power, looking solid. Just continuing to get cards here. Amber Acolyte is fine here. I don't really need to play Sandstorm Titan or anything crazy. I could wait. I actually kind of like waiting. Amber Acolyte here is yet more power. We will be able to play enough power regardless, but this gets us up to Grodov Stranger. I think I'm into that. Like, if Shardbinder dies, I want to be able to have a backup plan, so that seems reasonable. It gets some small units down. Alright, we're looking at like a Zoltar Arcanum style deck. We need another Justice Sigil here. I'm not worried about the life gain so much as just getting units down and pushing with them. We're going to hold back with Shardbinder since Grodov's Burden can come out next turn. Oh yeah, dodged a Display of Creation, although they did get some card draw out of it. A little bit of time there. This attack seems fine. We're not going to play Grodov's Burden yet since we haven't seen anything to actually justify it. Just play our time. This deck wants to play Zoltar Arcanum. That's its primary goal. Primal Sigil here seems good. Easy attacks. And just play Grodov Stranger.
We struggle.
We're probably looking at a Shenra Speaks pretty soon here, but I can Grodov's Burden anything at this point, so I'm not too worried. Okay, that's an unusual Pride Leader, but we're glad to see it, since that means that we can't lose Grodov's Burden to other shenanigans. I guess we'll let it attack, since, you know, like, the only thing that they could be setting up is, like, torch options. Cool. Pristine Light would have gotten them the Sabertooth Pride Leader back, which would have been rough, but yeah, our current setup seems fine. So yeah, we can now Tradition Chant if we want to. I think we'll just Amber Waystone, Grodov's Burden, and Bury the Past on that. Still might have to deal with Sabertooth Pride Leaders, but if we don't deal with Sabertooth Pride Leaders, then we're good.
We struggle and grow.
Okay, there's one Grodov Stranger. That is a lot of card draw. If we can get rid of it, I would like to. We're going to start with a Tradition Chant. We're going to decimate it, get the power, and play the power to get back up to 8. Found a Stillweave Shroud, which is basically what we wanted. That's perfect. So get back up to 8. Stillweave Shroud silences Grodov Stranger. And then we draw a card and see if it's a single faction unit. So transpose. That'll work. Huh. Okay, second Grodov Stranger sucks a little bit, but hey, stuff happens sometimes. We can transpose and Afgraph that if we like. Seems like it might be worth it. First things first, let's see what our top card is. So Tradition Chant. I don't really need a Tradition Chant right now, so we're not going to risk the Grodov's Burden. I'm just going to transpose. Go ahead and get Linray's Codex or Abagraft. We could also do Citywide Ban and ban out Zoltar Arcanum. I think I'm really liking Abagraft here. Then I can attack in for 5. I've got the Scorpion Wasp ready for the other Stranger, so we're pushing some damage and making it harder for them to Zoltar Arcanum. Nice. Okay. So this will get us a slightly bigger unit, which we do need, since it is a single faction unit. Now I've got a deadly 6/5 with flying, notably. So that's actually a very big deal. Go ahead and swing in and see if we can get this right now. No more Zoltar Arcanum. Great. I've got 5 and 4, so 5 for the Grodov's Burden. Got a Martial Ironthorn. Very good. Let's double up our power. Don't need that right now. That's not bad, but I don't think we need it right now. Crests are actually very good with Grodov's Burden. I'm going to avoid playing the Sandstorm Titan since I've already got a flyer, and this is pretty likely to be a Shenra Speaks or something equivalent. No, it's Zoe of the Endless Horde. Okay. Well, that card can draw quite a few cards, so that's something that we have to pay attention to. This block seems fine, since we might get a Torch out of it, which is not amazing, but at least gives us a blocker for Zoe. Okay. Grodov's Burden seems great here. Found another Sandstorm Titan, which we just get to play. Nicely enough. This does not have Endurance. I gotta decide if it's worth it to do the other Sandstorm Titan, or if we want to go for something like a little more spoopy. I think we're gonna attack for sure. That'll probably just get us a 2/2.
Think you can escape me?
Okay, Silencing doesn't actually do anything here. It just removes the Deadly. It's still Exalted. So we'll play Titan and Trailmaker. Trailmaker obviously eats a Zoe, but that does make it hard for them to draw cards while attacking. Obviously, we're going to see some damage here. If they kill the Trailmaker, then I actually get a bigger Sandstorm Titan, which is going to be able to block Zoe. And my face is protected with Aegis, so there really aren't any profitable Zoe choices. Block, block, and block for good measure. Get us a nice Endurance. They have to use their... Okay, they marketed probably for a Shenra Speaks. I would be surprised if it was anything else. Okay. So that is Empty Hand. Empty Hand state is where we excel. We can now just draw a card. Another Grodov's Burden. That's pretty cool. We'll hold on to that for later. And a Kodash's Armor. Also good, but we do have to actually, like, play it, so... Crest of Impulse, not doing so much. Martial Ironthorn seems great. Let's go ahead and do... I think we'll do one Grodov's Burden trigger, since we might draw a Sigil. Yep, we got an Amber Acolyte, so we do get a Sigil.
Safe travels, friend.
And Martial Ironthorn sets up. I think I might just play the Kodash's Armor. No, the Aegis units are too useful. We'll go ahead and hold. So I have 14. Grodov's Burden with Bury the Past is 8, and Kodash's Armor is 6. So I can play everything in my hand right now, or I can continue to go for Bury the Past, which is obviously getting us lots of card advantage. This is starting to look like a Kairos, something along those lines. Hard to say exactly what it is. Nahid's Distillation, also a solid choice. And picked up another Zoe, not bad. We'll definitely want to use Grodov's Burden to remove that, so we'll keep an eye out. And I guess picked up another Zoe there? That's curious. Alright. Draw 5. It's a Grodov Stranger, which plays power.
We struggle and grow.
And that'll give us more free draws as well. I can do at least one more while still Kodashing. So, another Burden. Got power. play the power. I can attack without any repercussions here if I want to. I think we're just going to code out his armor and protect ourselves from any sort of board clear. That also gives us the Exalted friend, which is great. Why don't we attack with both of these? Since the benefits of getting blocked by a 2-3 are actually pretty good. Cool. Didn't get to spread an Amber Acolyte across 4 units, 2 of them with Aegis, but still had a pretty good time. Treasure Trove here. Now, our board is Harsh Rule proof. If they Harsh Rule, we get something like, looks like 14 points of attack spread on 2 different Zolta convoys, which, yeah, that's pretty good. And we still have 2 Grodov's Burdens, which are just hard removal cards. This deck obviously has like a great late game, so we're very happy with how it turned out. More treasure troves, lots of cards getting drawn here. Zoe was definitely very helpful. We're going to see in our Arcanum? I'm actually curious where this is leading. Looks like it's not leading anywhere in particular. This is definitely where we should go for it. I don't have anything else to do, so yeah. Kodash's armor. Kodash's armor. Kodash's armor. Leave Ironthorn up, since that's going to be fine. Shuffle their deck, draw some cards. Yeah, cool. Alright! We're back at the top 100 again. I'm currently top 100 in all 4 formats. I'm pretty pleased with this fact, although that might not last for the month. Alright, that's it for today's video. Up on the left side, you probably should see some highlights from this game as well, so if you want to watch those are available. We are on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Patreon. As always, you're welcome to stop by any of those places and support what we do here, which is good stuff. But no pressure anyways. Thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate all of the people who watch, and I hope you had a good time with this deck, and hopefully enjoy it. So cheers, have a lovely one. Bye.